So what do you drive in New York?
So am I allowed to tell you
Yeah,
that I own a Tesla?
Yes.
Is that allowed? Or am I going to get rejected?
No, not at all. I've been married to my wife, Leah, for a couple decades now, so there are no surprises. And we have a lot of the same interests, so we do a lot of things together, pretty much everything together as a family. But there's one thing that's really, really difficult to do with her because she's a script supervisor. And so when we go to any kind of movie that has to be accurate, it's kind of a nightmare because the whole movie is, that's not right, that's not accurate. I think we all have people like this in our lives where they extend their expertise to places that really just don't belong. So imagine going to a movie theater and watching, any really cool sci-fi flick. As you settle into your seat, you look next to you and you realize, oh my God, that's Neil deGrasse Tyson next to me, the astrophysicist. And you're probably thinking like I am, he's going to ruin the whole film.
I just got to slip this in, not that you asked, but in the film, The Martian,
yes,
they leave Mark Watney there for dead because there's a windstorm, a dust storm that kicks up on Mars.
Yes.
And this happens all the time on Mars. And the rocket is rocking and they have to take off, otherwise they all die. But they presume he's dead, but he's not dead. So that's the setup of the movie. No.
No, that would be a no.
100-mile-an-hour winds on Mars are like...
Really?
It would be like a gentle breeze.
There's a low
It's
pressure.
not much air there.
Yeah.
You could, if you move very little air at 100 miles an hour, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's just not a thing.
I see. So I have to ask this question based on what you just said. Are you a great person to go to a movie with? Or a really difficult person to go to a movie with?
Okay, let me rank the worst people to go to the movie with,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Okay, number one, the people who read the book first.
Okay.
They're never happy.
Yeah.
They are never happy. Then stay the hell out of the thing. Who invited you? All right? Stay home with your damn books. All right? I'm going to watch the movie. They're the worst ones. I would say I'm perfectly content leaving stuff at the door.
You are.
Oh, yeah.
But then is there a...
But later on, I'll talk
Is there
about
a consultant process at the end of the movie? Where you're like, on reflection.
Yeah. But I'll do that at the bar,
Okay, got
at
it.
the end. Did you know that this was... I could be annoying, but not in the theater.
Right.
But I'll let the movie play out.
I see,
So
okay.
thank you for checking me out on that.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is an astrophysicist. He's also an author and a TV host. He's also the director of the Hayden Planetarium in New York City. You said that your mission, terrible paraphrasing, I'm sure, was to be a catalyst for curiosity, my words, for others to be more curious and to be learners. And I am constantly in that kind of situation, parent, business leader. And I wondered, why do you think that resonates with you as your mission? And also, what have you learned about being a catalyst for other people? Because I don't feel like I've ever gotten it figured out.
So interesting that you used the word catalyst, because that reminds me of the catalytic converter. And that's an automotive part.
Yeah, sorry. We don't get out much.
You can't shake it. I get you. So the way I've variously described it, I want to be a conduit for people's cosmic curiosity. That's what I want to help provide and enable and empower. And if I can get sort of more deeply philosophical on you in response to that comment, when you had kids, you surely knew that they are centers of entropy, of disorder. You knew this. But here's something else you should know. The act of the child creating disorder is the consequence of them doing some experiment where they're learning the results of that experiment. So, a school ought to be a place where you are more curious at the end of the day than when you started, so that when you graduate, you become a lifelong learner. That's why graduations are called commencement. Doesn't mean end, it means beginning. I hate to sound like a commencement speaker uttering this,
Yeah.
but that's kind of the obvious fact. So I'm delighted to learn that you yourself have retained some curiosity.
I've always, when people ask me, how are you doing? Which in America, they do kind of offhandedly, like almost not interested in the answer. And I always say the same thing. I'm learning. And people look at me like, what's wrong with him? Like he must be having a bad day. And I feel like, no, I'm learning more now as this in my current role or as a parent than I've ever had. I feel I'm humbled by how much I'm learning.
And by the way, that's not the thing CEOs are supposed to say. They're supposed to say, I know everything that needs to know, and I'm going to tell you.
Maybe that's why they're surprised. They're like,
Mr. CEO.
Well, I thought he's leading this whole place. and he's still learning? Holy crap. We're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
All right, that's good. So, but do you think that your constantly evolving body of knowledge around astrophysics and the world we live in, do you think that that is a more powerful stimulator of curiosity because it is far beyond what we can kind of grasp as limited humans?
Yeah. So I would say that it definitely helps that I'm in a field where discoveries are being made daily. Is it a new image from the James Webb Space Telescope? Is there a new rocket launch? Did we learn something new about black holes? Our discoveries make headlines. There's a very deep curiosity that we all have about what's above our heads, especially if what's above our heads might put civilization at risk, like an asteroid, of which there have been several movies to that effect.
Yeah.
Just in case you forgot that we're at risk of extinction from asteroids. And if you do forget, just visit the American Museum of Natural History, where I work, and I will take you to the dinosaur hall. They're all extinct, okay?
Yeah.
And if they had a space program and opposable thumbs, they would have deflected that asteroid, So it's humbling to have the power of knowledge that we do as astrophysicists and still discover something in the universe and say, who ordered that? Where did that come from? What is that? We don't know what that is. Let's hash it out at the next conference. Here are some ideas I have. Attack them to see if I have holes and maybe I think, what's your idea? I'll attack that. All right. The best thing I can do as your friend and colleague is to attack your idea. Because if it survives, we praise you for that, for surviving the attacks. If it gets knocked down because you didn't do all your homework that you should have, we did you a favor. What you have to do is be observant. What is that? They just put up a building there in a shape I've never seen. I wonder about that. Or if there's someone who comes to a cocktail party and they have an expertise you don't have, I'm all over them.
Yeah. Let's learn.
It's a free lesson. And they're going to talk about it because that's their life, right?
Speaking of curiosity, I think personally that is one of the most exciting mission statements I've heard, because as a business leader, my remit was smaller than that in a way. And what greater legacy could there be? So, as a person, I try to do the best I can to help others. And I find that the super wealthy people in business, a lot of them are looking up these days and being fascinated with space travel and multi-planetary expansion of our civilization. And I wonder how you think about that, given, and from my perspective, we have a lot of problems to solve here on our home planet. Are they mutually exclusive, or am I thinking about it wrong? Because on one hand, we're all watching those launch videos because there's some real deep-seated curiosity.
Launches never get old.
Right. It's oh my God, look at that.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's but there's a lot of homeless people in Detroit. Why don't we fix that problem if we have a lot of money? So I was just curious your personal perspective as these very influential people start to build a greater awareness of the possibilities.
So I presume you're implicitly referencing the billionaire boys race.
Yes.
Space race. Okay.
Yes.
So
much better put than how.
Okay. So this America, you know, you get wealthy. People like to criticize what rich people do with their money. And part of me leans that way. Of course, if you don't have that money and they do, but I would say, maybe I'm just clearly biased in this next sentence. I would say, if they were going to do anything with their billions, I'd rather they went into space than competed with who had the biggest yacht.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Who owns the largest island? If I had to pick, let's do space, because to make advances there requires technological innovation.
Yep.
All right. So they want to lean in a direction that requires learning new things about materials, about science, physics, chemistry, biology, physiology. You're sending humans. So now, I'm going to paraphrase what you said, and it's a common question that NASA gets. Why are we spending money up there when we could be spending money down here? How about this? Do you realize if the sun were hollow, you could pour 1 million Earths inside the hollow sun and still have room left over? The universe is vast. Do you realize, and you would care about this as head of a Ford Motor Company, that rare earth elements are common in space?
Right.
Rare on Earth. That's not entirely rare. They're just not evenly distributed geopolitically. But they're asteroids that have pre-sifted ingredients that we value. The whole platinum iridium group of metals on the periodic table, gold, platinum, iridium. So all of those are pre-sifted, and they're asteroids that have more gold on them that has ever been mined in the history of the world. And they're just floating by.
Right.
We have comets that enough water in them, if they landed on Earth and melted, they would refill the entire ocean. So to say we got Earth problems, let's solve those before we think about space? There's 24/7 access to energy in space. And I'll throw something else out there. And it has to do with spin-offs. My physics professor in college, his name was Ed Purcell. He won a Nobel Prize. Why? He's interested in the universe and gas clouds in space. And how do you detect the atoms in the gas clouds? And he figured out a way you can detect hydrogen gas in space. So he's thinking about molecules and atoms and nuclei especially. And he, with a colleague of his, pioneered this new phenomenon in physics called nuclear magnetic resonance, NMR for short. So the nucleus of an atom can resonate in a field of energy so that other light that passes by it will deflect at different angles. And that sounds kind of obscure, but it was a phenomenon no one had understood before or knew about. A medical engineer says, wait a minute, if you could put a field around a nucleus and it can deflect photons in that way, I can make a cavity, put you in that cavity, and make an image of the molecules of your body. This was the birth of magnetic resonance imagers, MRI, right? Magnetic resonance imaging. That arguably is the most potent tool in the arsenal of medical doctors, so they don't have to cut you open to know what's going on inside you. Okay, if you had told medical doctors to invent that, of course they wouldn't. It comes from somewhere else.
Right.
It comes from the ingenuity of people who have interest in these other things. You can't legislate innovation. All you can do is create the fertile grounds on which it unfolds in all of the fields, and let other clever people come afterwards and see the connectivity. And when they see the connectivity, that's how you move civilization forward. So to say not this, but that, no, do it all.
Got it. What was your reaction to William Shatner's reaction to being up there?
Yeah, he went on one of the Branson Bezos suborbital flights. So those don't actually go into orbit. Elon sends people into orbit.
Yeah.
All right. That's a whole other.
Yes.
All right. When you're in orbit, you are weightless for the entire orbit. In these others, you go up basically above the important part of the atmosphere. And then you fall and you're weightless while you're falling until the atmosphere begins to slow you down. And then you slowly approach 1G again in the vessel. So I forgot how many minutes of weightlessness you get. If you're going to send anybody, you definitely want to send William Shatner.
Yeah.
I think he earned it. He totally earned it. No complaints there. And he waxed poetic and emotional and philosophical and, dare I say, even spiritual about that experience. And of course, that's a little bit of the overview effect, which astronauts report that they experience. Where Earth is down there and you can't see countries or anything, it's just Earth. And it can change you. It changes most people. I, as an astrophysicist, no, I've never been to orbit, but I think about the universe all the time.
Right.
And I think about not simply Earth from orbit, I think about Earth from deep space, as the Apollo astronauts saw it. We went to the moon to explore the moon, and we looked back over our shoulders and discovered Earth for the first time. When did we go to the moon? 1968 was Apollo 8. And then 1969, we landed and walked through 72. Over those years, do you know what happened back here on Earth? We created the first Earth Day. That was 1970. The Environmental Protection Agency, 1970. NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric, something to think about it with, was in 1970.
I didn't know that.
We banned leaded gas, 1973. People started thinking about it. It was like a firmware upgrade descended upon us all because we saw Earth from space. And it didn't look like the schoolroom globe with color-coded countries. No. It was this globe suspended in nothing, adrift in the darkness of space. And all you could see was oceans and land and clouds. There's a quote from Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell. You develop an instant global consciousness, a people orientation, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world, and a compulsion to do something about it. From out there on the moon, international politics looks so petty, you want to grab a politician by the scruff of the neck and drag him 250,000 miles out and say, look at that, you son of a bitch.
Wow. Yeah.
He was feeling it.
Yeah.
My boy was like, that was beyond the overview effect. That was, y'all better fix this stuff.
Yeah.
Because this Earth is all we have.
I better get back to work. So what do you drive in New York?
So am I allowed to tell you that I own a Tesla?
Yes.
Is that allowed? Or am I going to get ejected?
No, not at all. Maybe your sister has something to say to you.
My sister works for you, yes.
Yes, she's amazing.
But if it's any consolation, my very first car ever was a Mercury Montego. And it was gifted to me by an old lady while she was driving a Mercury Montego with a 420 engine, I don't know, 8-cylinder, but she was too old and her daughters just gave me the car. And I was 25 and I'm driving this car and with a tailwind, it gets 7 miles a gallon.
Yeah.
This sucker.
Yeah. Not good. Not good. That was a bad
tailwind downhill.
Yeah.
I think it was the last of the land yachts.
Yeah.
Because it had this huge hood and I'd be driving, coming up over a hill and I couldn't see anything beyond the hood. I hope there's not a cat crossing the road because I'm coming down and I don't know what's there. But so I'm at a red light, but I'm like 2 cars back. Okay. So in front of me is like a Volvo and behind me is, remember that car, that TR6?
Oh, yeah.
It was
TR7.
TR7.
It was a wedge shape.
It was a wedge shaped, okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A car, we're just sitting there at the red light. Some other car rear-ended the TR7. The TR7 plowed under my Mercury Montego. The Mercury Montego went forward and smashed in the back of the Volvo. So the Volvo was smashed in the back. The TR7 is totaled, and I didn't even, the other car that started all that, okay?
Yeah.
When the Mercury Montego, I just backed up and drove off. This car was
nothing ever happened.
I think there was like a little crack in the taillight.
No, you have physics on your side. I got it.
Yeah.
And So what do you like about the Tesla?
So you get the very high acceleration,
Yes.
which that's a built into the electric universe. All right, and I'm not one of those chasing that extra half a second,
but it's cool.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that, you know, there's like 6 moving parts. It's an electric car.
Yeah.
It's this Rube Goldberg thing.
Yeah.
That's the product of 100 years of trying to get the internal combustion engine to do what we needed to and want it to do. I mean, what a run the internal combustion engine has had. Transforming, you look at old pictures in New York, everyone's in a horse-drawn carriage.
Yes.
10 years later, from 1900 to 1910, you can't give away a horse.
Yes, correct.
It's because of your people.
Yeah, well, in 19...
It's your people. They all driving the damn Model T.
It's true.
And it's in the full spectrum of colors that were offered.
Yeah, black.
So I think electric cars need to come down in price to be as influential for the common family as the Model T was when it first came out. But I think that's inevitable. What I also think is inevitable is the self-driving car. I think that will descend upon us much faster than people will currently admit or recognize to themselves. Think about it. If we can go from all horses to all cars in 13 years, and we built civilization on the literal and figurative back of horses, and you couldn't give away a horse in 13 years, I'm saying now we go from internal combustion to self-driving electric. That's a lesser of a transition than going from horses to cars. It's less. And cars have a time scale where you might have a car for 10 years,
right?
But usually 5 if you like trading them up, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's the time scale over which you've got, and all of a sudden the HOV lanes are now only for self-driving cars.
Right.
And a self-driving car can go 90 miles an hour in fog with 1 car length behind the previous car because its reflexes are better than you.
Yes.
And then the people who have sports cars, what do we do about them? You know? Okay, so we create car tracks.
Right.
And they keep the car there, and on the weekends they can drive as fast as they want and listen to the noisy engine. Let them do it. Because today we have horse stables.
Yes.
The people who still like horses, we can still hook you up.
Yeah. And, you know, I think in retrospect, history won't be kind to us for the last 4 or 5 decades for this because, like you said, to save, I don't know, $70, we gave all of the software control of the vehicle over to suppliers, and none of them talked to each other, and they all wrote different software. So none of the seat control module works with the body control module that lowers the windows, or the transmission control module. None of it talked to each other to save, like, I don't know, $500. Now, with an advanced electrical architecture, like, it's a software updatable vehicle.
Yeah, overnight update. Yep.
Correct. And but we gave that.
So you're
we
stuck
could have done
there.
that, but
you're a little bit stuck.
So now we're get busy. I understand. Get busy getting unstuck, Mr. Farley. You got it. I got it. I totally get it.
By the way, you were not even ashamed that I told you my Mercury Montego got 7 miles a gallon. Can you repent or something?
No. I was at Toyota then, so I feel much better. But I mean, names of cars, that's like a whole nother podcast. Like Montego is, of course, named after.
I didn't tell you I did this. I looked at car names.
Yes.
And I found all the car names that have science or astronomically inspired.
Crazy.
It's huge.
It is.
Okay,
it's
so
huge.
the number one kind of car name is a name that means nothing. Like Mercedes-Benz 7 Series, okay?
Yeah.
Or Audi A8 or whatever. So that's the number one. Number 2 are car names that are places.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So the Yukon.
Yes.
Okay? Or the
Sequoia.
Okay?
Lots of them.
Physical places and things.
Yeah.
Third are science and astronomical names. And
no doubt about
number one among them, I think it was GM, edged you out because GM had Saturn.
Yes.
That's a whole car company.
That's a whole car
company. But you guys had Mercury.
Well, we had the Galaxy. But
the Galaxy. There's the Ford Focus. I'm taking Focus. That's a physics term.
There you go.
Okay.
There were a couple of conflict there, like the Chevy Nova, which in Spanish means no go, but Nova is like a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, Nova,
So,
it's no go.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the Ford folks knew that a nova is a star that just blew up. I don't think people...
They didn't think through that one?
They were missing the Spanish-speaking person and the
astrophysicist. I got it.
I have a whole list.
Really?
I carry it on my phone.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I know. Let me pull it up right now. Hang on. Are you ready?
I may not
What
be.
I do with my glasses here? I think I can get... Okay, here we go. Ready? Okay, so Buick had the Apollo.
Oh, yeah.
Which came out in 1973.
Oh, yeah, the Apollo.
Here we go.
Yes.
Saturn, which is generically good, had the Astra.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, of course, they were all themed that way. Chevy also had the Equinox.
Yes.
I'm taking it. Good. Saturn had the Ion.
Yes.
The Ion is good. You need that for your batteries, by the way, of course. Again, the Chevy Nova. Uh-oh, you're down a few in the contest here. The Geo, this is GM Prism. They spelled it with a Z, but I'm taking it. It's a Prism. Okay. Again, General Motors Spectrum, 1989. I'm taking it. The Saturn had the Sky, 2007.
Oh, the Pontiac
Solstice.
Yeah.
Got it right here.
Okay, so this is like not even fair.
Wait,
totally.
no, hang on.
Are you getting the Fords?
Chevy Vega, we got that. Okay. Hold on. Chevy Volt, we said that. Ford Aerostar.
True.
Okay. Mercury Comet.
Yes.
How did you forget the Comets?
No,
dude?
that's a good one. Yeah.
That's a good one. Ford Galaxy IE, we loved it. Ford Focus.
Yes.
I'm taking it. Ford Fusion.
Yes.
I'm taking it. Mercury Meteor. You had a Meteor.
Yes, we did in Canada. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. You knew that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That was early, 1961.
Yes.
Okay. And I got a Ford Orion.
All
right. The Ford Taurus, of course, we knew that. That was good internationally.
Yes.
It did very well. Ford Telstar.
Telstar.
That was the America's first communication satellite. Telstar. Dodge Aries.
Yes.
Plymouth Laser. I'm taking it.
The Laser. Yep.
Nissan had a Pulsar.
They did. They had a Pulsar.
Yeah. This is not going to fit in the podcast. You got to make this an extra.
Okay? This is an extra feature.
I got one here. You ready? This is Nissan had a Sunny.
Yes.
Sunny, S-U-N-N-Y. Toyota had the Solara.
Yes.
I'm taking it.
Yes,
it's not a real word, but it's Sol is
kind
the sun.
Yeah.
Toyota Soluna.
Soluna.
Sol and Luna is the Latin
that's
word
like
for sun and moon.
Yeah.
They're trying to be clever there. Volkswagen had the Apollo.
Yes.
Mitsubishi Eclipse.
Yes.
That one was pretty
that
bad. That was badass looking.
Yes.
Isuzu had a Gemini. And this is an Indian company. The Mahindra
yeah.
had a Scorpio.
Yes, they did.
Scorpio.
Actually, with Ford.
Is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
It was both of us.
Kia Spectra.
Yes.
Hyundai Solaris. Yes. There's a lot of words that smell like that. Hyundai Stellar. That's boring, actually. And Chevy Geo, of course.
Yes.
That got a lot of mileage.
It was a whole division.
And Nissan Infiniti. Here's one for you. You ready? You're not ready. Are you seated?
Yes.
Okay. There is a group of stars, it's actually a star cluster, called the Pleiades. Okay? They're visible all over. And it's 6 stars, although in legend there are 7, because 7 was a luckier number. So the Romans said there were 7. The 7 daughters of Atlas were the Pleiades, but they're actually only 6 stars. And they're there, you can't miss them. They look a little bit like the Little Dipper.
Got it.
Do you know what the word for the Pleiades is in Japanese? Subaru.
No way.
So
and actually the logo is blue with all the. I didn't know that. No
it's the
way.
Pleiades on their card. That's and they did it right. They have 6 stars, not 7. Okay.
No way.
Okay,
got it.
That's the Pleiades.
That's
so my full list of cars, dude.
I love it. I mean, I had actually no idea it was that many until you went through that list.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that the naming was durable over decades. Like you would think, maybe the 50s they were interested in.
It came in and stayed.
It went on forever.
Yes.
I mean, until now.
Yes.
Curiosity.
There it is. And people's interest in the universe knows no bounds.
Amazing.
Not even among the people who name cars.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for your time,
Really
Neil.
good to see you.
You're the best.
All right.
Thank you.
Drive is produced by Jesse Baker and Eric Newsom of Magnificent Noise. Our production staff includes Julia Natt, Eva Walchover, and Kristen Muller. with help from Lori Arpin, Krista Gentile, Max Owen Dunell, Catherine Sanders, Darnell Macon, and Mark Truby. Our host is Jim Farley, and this is Drive.